Next part of the tutorial here. So, this is still lesson 1, part 2. So we've got our background layer, which, by the way, I haven't mentioned, is always going to be there and always going to be on the background. I can't move it up, okay? I can move these layers around. So I can move this layer below that layer, I can move that one on top, I can move the red one on top, I can do all sorts of things. I can even, let's just do this. I can drop the opacity of a layer, right? So I can make that red very transparent or less transparent. And that'll, I can do all sorts of things like that. To our background layer, let's see what I can do to that one. Turn these off. Can't drop the opacity on that one, okay? Background layer is kind of stuck in the background, but I can duplicate it. So our little button in the corner, so Photoshop, again, loves these little teeny buttons. So the teeny button in the corner, I can duplicate that layer, let it be background copy. Now I've got 2 of them. So I can turn the background off. I think I could even throw it away if I wanted to. Okay, I don't want to, but I could. And then now on this one, I can move it around, the background copy. Whoops, cancel. And drop the opacity and all sorts of other things that I may want to do with it for whatever reason. Okay, so drop the opacity, let's turn it red. You can do all sorts of things. So, okay, just a little thing about layers there. The next tool I want to show you before we end our first lesson here is the type tool. So if you can guess it, it's T on the keyboard. So again, with your other hand, that's not the mouse, that's not on the mouse or not on the pen, and hit T, okay? And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to click somewhere. Now, depending on the last person who used it, that'll depend, that'll make it the font size and the font choice. It'll be whatever the last person did. But I'm going to go ahead and just click and see what I get. I'm going to get a blinking cursor, and I'll type my name. Whoop. Let's see what happens here. And if you can see here, you can't see anything, okay? So the reason why is my type layer is below all these other layers. So it's hidden right now. It's there, but it's hidden, okay? And another note is that there is a type layer. So I can go over here and pick it up and drag it to the top so I can see it, right, if it's hidden. So again, we've got things to troubleshoot. Maybe number 1 would be, what tool are you on? If things are going wrong, you don't know where you're at, check what tool you're on. Second thing is check what layer you're on and what layer order you're in, or where it is, right? You may think you're on a layer, you're on a different layer. You may think your layer's on top, but it's really like that underneath and hidden. So first thing to check, tool, check what tool you're on, check the settings of the tool, right? That would also be included. Check, maybe the opacity is down all the way. Maybe the mode is not normal. All those things. Check your tool. If that doesn't solve your problem, all right, check your layer, okay? So in my case right there, I had my layer below, and I just peeked over and I saw, oh, my layer's hidden, okay? So here we go. My type layer, as you can see, is different. So just by pressing the type tool, I got a brand new layer, and you can see here it's a type layer. So it acts like a word processing document of sorts, right? I can go here, I can select the font. I can, if I pull my cursor off of it a little bit like that, I can move it around. I can change the font, so I can select the characters. Then I can go over here up to my tool options, and I've got all sorts of fonts here loaded in my computer, and you will have fonts loaded in there as well that you can change your tool options. And if I just kind of drag it over it, you can see it gives you like a little preview here, which is kind of cool if you want to see what things look like real quickly. All right, so I pick something here. I just saw one kind of like avant-garde. I think that's it, avant-garde. Let's go with that for, no, that's not going to be good actually for what I want to show you in a second. So let me go thicker. I don't want extra light. Let's go for medium. Okay. You can change the point size. So Photoshop, you can do this drop-down menu, and here I can change it to 72, but that's not my limit here. I can go ahead and click in there, and I can type in a lot larger numbers here than just 72. They just only have a few that are kind of preset, and the rest you have to type in. I can also change, let's see, the sharpness I can ignore, just I leave it at that, or sharp, you know. This is your right or left justification, or centered, if you want to, if you have like a paragraph. But I can change the color. Okay, so I click on that. Check this out. So I can, obviously I can choose my colors here and change the color, okay? But I can also move my cursor over to my document, and I can select colors straight from my document, which is really handy, especially if you want to get things to kind of match, okay? So let's say I want it to match what I'm already doing. I can go ahead and just pick a color. I like kind of like that because it stands out nicely, okay? And I can hit that and then hit OK, and now I've got that kind of light orange color. Okay, couple other things now. Keep moving on with the type tool. So another button I want to show you is the text warp tool. So up in your tool options, this T with a little line under it, if I click that, I get this little warp text window. And here I got style is none right now, so it's nothing. But if I go to arc, and I switch that right there to arc, all of a sudden my characters go into an arc. And I can adjust that arc and the bend here. I can adjust all sorts of things about it. Okay, I would suggest that you don't distort it beyond legibility, because especially in the graphic design class, you know, communicating is kind of essential. That doesn't mean you can't have some fun or I can't make it look interesting, but you know, if you distort it beyond being able to read it, then it's not going to do you much good most of the time. There are always exceptions, but there's more than just arcs. There's just an upper arc, or an, well, arch looks very similar, bulge, and all sorts of things. They can all be tweaked using these sliders right here. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at arc, and I'm going to kind of make it just a little bit subtle here, so not too much. Let's keep that at 0, and let's keep this at 0 as well, and hit OK. There we go. I can still move it around like this, and that is the text warp tool. Okay, I'm going to ignore all the rest of these right now. 3D is pretty cool, but let's leave that alone for now, because a lot of the earlier versions of Photoshop don't have that. And let's go on to a button that I think is more helpful. And this works not just for text, but it also works for images. It just happens to work very well with text here. And that's the effects button down here, okay? So I've got my layer window, and the very bottom, right, there's all these little quick little buttons you can hit. But one important one here is the effects button. Again, there's the new layer button, which is really important as well. But the effects button is pretty cool. So if I click that and get a little drop down, or it goes up depending on how much room your computer's got, I'm going to go right now to stroke. And when I click on that, it's very hard to see, but there's a little thin stroke around Mr. Salazar now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So you can see the characters better. So Command plus, or Control plus. And now I can see the black stroke there. So I have a layer style window, okay? So effects button brings out layer styles. I don't know why that doesn't really make sense, but I don't know why they just don't call it the layer style button or the effects button. I don't know. But either way, here we go. FX, layer styles. So I can take my sliders here, and I can adjust the size of my stroke. I can adjust the position inside, made it just black almost, centered. But I would highly recommend you always keep it on the outside. Graphic design rule is to keep your stroke on the outside. That is a big no-no to put it in the middle or inside. It kind of just makes the font look ugly, okay? distorts the shapes, and that looks just terrible. Just big graphic design no-no. If you ever do that in one of my classes, I will make you change it. And please, if you do it, don't tell anybody I was your teacher, because that's just a big faux pas in graphic design. Okay, so blend mode, you can do all sorts of things with that. Let's just leave that for now. I'm going to leave it at normal. Opacity would be, how strong the color is, and color as well. So again, I can go here and pick colors from my document. If I want to do something like that, that looks kind of cool. I'll keep it there, hit OK, and that is my stroke. Okay, now you notice there's a ton of other buttons here. Okay, I'm going to hit Bevel Emboss, another one I like a lot. Bevel Emboss, you can see I just turned on the Bevel and Emboss. And it comes with a little preset start. But you notice here, it's still under the stroke. So if I try and change my Bevel and Emboss, it's not going to do it. It's just changing the stroke. So what I have to do is I have to click on the Bevel and Emboss, and you'll see it go blue. Now I've got options here, and there's a lot, and I'm not going to cover everything because you just have to play with it, I think. But real quickly, you can see the depth can be adjusted, the size, I can make it a bigger kind of look, like a three-dimensional look, and the lighting and the shading, okay? This is kind of important here. I can change the angle at which the light is hitting this thing, okay? So that is cool. And using global light means that if we do another effect that has light as well, the global light will keep it all consistent, which is really cool, I think. So you don't have to try and match it yourself. You just use a global light. So all sorts of things. You can change the kind of light. You can change the highlight mode. They like it on screen to start. Shadow mode. The screen and multiply. Keep it, keep some of the color there. Kind of blends nicely. You can soften it, make them look rounder. Make it look sharper and crisper. All sorts of cool things. Okay, I'm going to leave it like that. Hit contour, hit texture. So I've got some other options here with adding texture and stuff, but I'm going to leave it like it is. Okay, let's see what else we can do. Let's do a drop shadow. So I'm going to click drop shadow, and you can't see it, but it's there. I'm going to click on this one, and so I got this blue now. Now I can move the distance, and you can now see the drop shadow moving further away, and it's using our global light, so wherever we have this position at, and you can see if I change the angle, it will change it for the bevel as well, okay? So I can change the distance here, I can change the spread and make it softer. Use the size here. Let's see if I can make it. Okay, there's a little bit softer there. A little further. There. If I adjust the size now, it looks softer. Okay, and there we go, drop shadow. Okay, and I can turn these things off and on as I want by just clicking these off. Okay, let's try one more thing. The inner shadow. Well, I'll show you a few of these here. Let's see. So I got this inner shadow, so you can see what it did there. Inner glow. Kind of hard to see, but it added a little bit of a glow. Let me. Oh, too much. There we go. Inner glow. Satin that has some color overlay. So it's got all these things. You have to play with these. But the big ones that I like are the bevel and emboss, the stroke, and then sometimes the drop shadow, and then the other little shadow options. Okay. That is a way to make your text look a little bit cooler. It's very easy to go overboard on your text. Recommend trying not to go overboard with it. It just kind of starts to look a little bit overdone if you use too many effects. But a little bit of a drop shadow might be helpful. A stroke, the bevel and emboss might kind of punch things up a little bit. Kind of cool. Okay, so that's some basic text effects you've got. That wraps it up for the text tutorial. And hopefully that sets you on your way to lesson 2. And I'll see you again for lesson 2 at some point.